6:49, I'll call the regular meeting to order. Mount Holly Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 17th. We are starting late because our subdivision hearing went over. The first item on the agenda is consideration of any changes. Anybody have anything to add?
Not that I know of.
Andy, anything to add?
I do not.
All right. Hearing none, agenda's approved. We have minutes that I did. Dang, I knew I missed something today.
I read them. They seem okay.
So much to do. Everyone else read them and reviewed them?
Yes.
Okay. Any updates or changes? Anybody have anything? No? All right, well, I'm gonna not vote because I didn't read them. All in favor of approval?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All abstain because I didn't read them. Was that, Andy, you were approving or not approving?
Approving.
Okay. One abstention.
He said aye to no. I know I am
Yeah.
confused.
I got confused on the delay.
Well, that's
All right.
an attorney for you.
Minutes are approved. Faith?
So no BCRs or other such business, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. The first thing was, as we have developed this checklist, there is a request from the town clerk that the findings and the decision note prominently the property ID. Since up to now we've used our own PC 2025-04 in the reporting of the findings and decision, it makes it much easier for her to work out which property it relates to, as long as we've got the property ID in that block at the top.
Okay. In the, not span, but the town tax map ID.
Yeah,
Okay.
for her to work out where the recording, what property it applies to.
Mm-hmm.
Then another issue which perhaps should be part of the broader discussion on the subdivision process. When the Mylar has been recorded, a ledger-size copy is kept in the record, is made by the town clerk and kept in the records. Apparently these can only be copied in New Hampshire. There is a question as to whether or not that should be supplied by the applicants.
So I can address that. So the place in Claremont is not the only place that can scan plats of this size and material, but it is one of the more convenient and cheaper. And we used that for scanning our land records in batch several years ago under a grant. They seem to be very accommodating as well. If Sue were here, she can tell you she's basically selected them. One of the primary reasons for this is to scan the endorsements. So the endorsements cannot be provided by the surveyor. We do get a PDF copy from the surveyor, but it's not signed and sealed. So the record copy is the one with the chair's signature and the town clerk's signature. So the only way to get that is by scan. And it was our assessment at the time that buying a scanner was not something the town wanted to do. So I don't know what the other options are.
The issue about signature and...
Right. So to me, the more interesting thing is to get the actual scanned copy. You know, people who very commonly deal in paper like the 8.5 by 11 or whatever it is they make, 11 by 17. But the electronic copy is actually more interesting because so much email and everything else now. Oftentimes we've actually gotten requests from the surveyor to send back the copy with their signatures on it because the applicants often want that endorsed copy, executed copy. Do you deal with that in real estate? Do people care about the signature on it or?
No.
Yeah.
Everything's all digital now.
Yeah.
It's actually a pain when people don't have technology to sign it digitally.
Yeah,
And you have to go hunt them down and get a wet signature.
yeah,
But like loan documents, a lot of that stuff now, it's just all digital.
right. Yeah. So,
What's the size?
does that answer the question?
Well, what's the normal size of the plat? Like they're not 11 by 17, they're a lot bigger, right?
Our plat's 18 by 24.
The plat's 18 by 24, but then there's the sort of secondary register, which is 11 by 17.
I know this
So-
got brought up when I had my first one, when I came and recorded it. And I was looking for it, and she goes, oh, well, it's not in there yet because there's only like one place to go, and I have to drive over to New Hampshire and get it scanned to get that correct size. But
So there's a couple of things. So one, why that was done in the first place is that it's kind of circular. You'll see. So Sue started doing that, reducing the size from 18 by 24 to 11 by 17 because that's the size that would fit on the scanner. And the reason it needed to fit on the scanner is because she got requests from people to send it. A lot of that came through email. So it's so she made a paper copy in order to make an electronic copy. This is why I'm saying it's better that we just store the electronic copy.
Yeah,
and we
could
can
you
make
make a
copies
file?
of any size we
could the
want.
clerk make a file on her computer and just put like 2025 plats? And if somebody called, then you just take what's been digitally given to you and you send it to the requested person and they can deal with printing it out the right size they want?
People who call for like title searching, they want the executed endorsed copy. They often will have to come and get it, but our clerks have been very accommodating. But the point, I think, is all of our land records up until, I don't know what it was, Jeff, 2023 or 24, we scanned all the maps in. They are all digital. They are in a folder, and they're online in the COT system. Going forward, I would hope that would be the practice, is that every time we got a signed plat, it would be put in the book, but maybe periodically every quarter. Carol says she does it pretty regularly, but I would hope that those would then go on to the electronic database, like the online version. Historically, there's been a little bit of pushback on that, but I think it's more and more people are seeing the fact that everything's digital now. So I think it's up to the clerk. We can't really. Every clerk will have a different way of doing it, but I think it makes sense to have the digital copy as sort of the archival version. So like you have the plat of record is Mylar, and we have like backup as PDF, and from that we can produce any size we want and send it electronically. That's what makes the most sense to me. And the fact that many of them, if not most of them, are online, that they don't even have to interface with a clerk for, is a big win.
At the end of the day, you can put the Mylar down, take a picture with your phone and scan it to your computer, right? I've done that.
Yeah.
A lot of time, well, it depends on the size, but the copier should be able to be used as a scanner also.
But I'm saying if you got this
Yeah.
Mylar here and it got signed, you can use your phone. I've taken
Yeah.
big, huge surveys
Yeah.
and taken a good enough picture from my phone to be able to at least make a record of it, but.
So I think the only two ways that I know of to get PDF, TIFF, whatever, electronic copies of the signed Mylars is to have them scanned at
Somewhere where they can.
I forgot the name. What is the place over there?
I don't know. She mentioned the name, but
It skipped my mind, but the place in Claremont,
yeah.
or we buy equipment,
Yes.
That's
which
the only place that can do that?
there aren't too many.
Apparently there was one in Manchester, but it's closed.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, so
A lot of engineering firms have that ability. If we can make a deal, I don't know if the engineering firms
Nobody's
do.
working plans like hard copies anymore. It's just strictly digital. So there's like no reason to scan.
No big scanner?
anymore. Yeah.
very few.
Unless like something's still in a vault full of property records.
What's wrong with Lisa's method if it's not an official? I mean, the Mylar is official. The PDF is does the PDF have all the signatures on it?
Yeah.
After you scan it, after you take it somewhere and scan
No,
it to
no,
get that.
you gotta scan it.
I think it's really-
The photo is not.
It's really up to Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the clerk.
It has all kinds of
She's the record.
distortions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other, so
We tried a second.
I mean, this is nuanced. We could talk about this for an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot about it because we did it for like Jeff and I did it for years. But technically, there's like another step for some people. So you can get a certified copy from the town clerk, and that's a whole other thing. So the clerk needs the ability to actually document this is like an official copy, and then it really does need to have the fidelity of an actual scanner. Phone won't work. You know, it's just people. It's not like you're taking measurements off it, but it can't have. You know, an iPhone will like block out things it thinks are noise. You know, and it could be a building. You know. So anyway, there's.
Okay. I will.
Let's not get too into the weeds.
Okay. That was it.
It's probably worth finding out just what it would cost to get a scanner. I know, run-of-the-mill scanners are quite inexpensive. Something that can handle that large of size is probably, of course, more expensive, but really, if it's only a few $100, then it might be worth doing it rather than avoiding the inconvenience of.
Yeah, we'll pass it on.
Yeah. I think it might be more like a few $1,000s for that.
And the place to put it and maintain it. And I think, you know, it was an issue. We thought about purchasing it from the grant. And Sue very strongly did not want to have any more clutter in here because it would have to go into the vault probably. So anyway,
I'm on the space there.
we can talk to Carol and see what she wants to do. Anything else?
No.
All right. I don't have much. I think the emails today I sent around from AARP. There's a ADU seminar or whatever that looked, you know, vaguely interesting, maybe for housing interested folks. We can share that with the community too, maybe. I think that's it. I did my, annual, I guess, open meeting training through the Secretary of State today. There's another one tomorrow that's a more overview type one. Just a reminder that, you know, people are expected to do VLCT trainings every year. It's up to you which you'd like to do. I know maybe we haven't, but we're supposed to.
I went online and did the Secretary of State's open meeting law training session, the video.
Yeah, that's what I did today.
Is that the type of thing you're talking about? Is something else?
No, this is more, VLCT has their own webinar series, training series, that a lot of it gets really into the meat and potatoes of, like, for example, I took one recently on CHIP, the new housing incentive. It's a cost deferral program. They have a whole series on some very detailed issues. So that's nice because they're lawyers and they're the policy experts, where it's sometimes the policy is a little different from the law. So it's worth checking out. Okay, let's move on. All right, so Gregory Kelly plat. So Faith's gonna grab it.
Thank you.
You saw my note today, my email.
The email, yes,
Lengthy.
yes.
You want me to forward it to you?
So I knew I was gonna be gone most, like, February into March.
Yeah.
So I had Aaron, I told him, I said, this was approved, can you please print to Mylar and send it to,
Who's Aaron?
he's the guy who works at Holt.
Let me just give a quick recap for everyone who hasn't been kept up to speed. I came in to sign the plat as we agreed in our decision. And there were, you know, perhaps minor, but changes that I was not authorized to accept. And the question is basically to the applicant, to Lisa, what do you want to do? If, you know, probably the easiest thing, although for us at least, is to just get the person to fix it, because like maybe they don't even charge you because it's probably their error.
So you're talking about these dark
So I would
So
say
this
that-
is where the elevation numbers are and they're blocked out, right?
See, I'm only authorized as chair to sign an identical copy, and I mean, very clearly it's not, right? So there's, I think, 3 differences that we should note. One is that the colors are all different, which may or may not carry information, but it's still not the same. And then we lost all of the elevation information, maybe a bug, you know? So they all had numbers, and now they have
Right.
blocks.
Yep.
And then the other one, which I view as a beneficial change, but nonetheless a change, that this one is signed and our other one wasn't. We missed the fact that it wasn't signed, so that's great. But I would still need planning commission approval to sign it with that, even with that a change. So I guess the first question is to you. Can you just go back to your person and
I
say,
did. So I got,
give me my money's worth? You know?
yeah. I have to take a breath, hold on. Because this whole thing has just been like so fucking frustrating because it's not my property yet.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, and I had to call my brother-in-law like 8 times to sign the thing so I could record it. But I was talking to Carol and I said, I'm waiting for the Mylar to show up here because I said, I knew I was going to be away, so I didn't want it delivered to my house because I already had a problem with these guys last year with the one I recorded. Never showed up, and then I had to call him a bunch. And so she goes, I think it's here. That was like in the middle of February. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I said, so I just gotta wait for somebody to sign it? And she goes, yep, as soon as they sign it, then it'll get recorded. And I was like, okay, great. And I said, so I had my daughter come down and drop off a check, and I said, she's dropping a check, I'm sending the stuff for my brother-in-law, whatever. So then I get the email almost a month later from Faith, because I had sent an email to you, and I only have one email for you.
That's fine, yeah.
But I sent it to you, and I was like, hey, just FYI, it's at the town office. So then I got like the email from Faith Monday that there was an issue. And so I was sort of frustrated because she's like, can you get one by tomorrow? And it takes so long for me to get a hold of this guy that I'm like, now I feel like we're going to miss our window.
This guy being your brother-in-law?
The surveyor.
The surveyor. Okay.
So,
Well, you didn't have to have. You didn't need to be here today. We're going to discuss what to do here, but you can tell us as soon as he gets me a new copy. I'll bring it in, or you know.
okay.
That's
And I have
totally
a message.
fine. If it's identical, I already have the authority.
So I don't
to sign
understand. I mean, I'm assuming that this was like the colors were one version, you know, where it shows certain information. So I don't know that the colors are a big deal, but I do understand like it's pointless to have
The commission can decide whether the colors are a big deal. I can't.
Okay.
I can just tell you they're not the same. I was given approval to do this, you know, like, to sign this in Mylar form, if you understand me.
Right.
But
But I don't understand. I don't know if when you take this and put it into the Mylar print, like if their technology just makes it like more black and
couldn't
white.
tell you. I know we do have Mylars with color.
Okay.
It's, you know, not many of them, maybe, but we do have some.
What's the date on this one? December 16th. So I've been trying to reach Aaron, but like I said, the turnaround time for a day to get it here tonight was like,
No, it didn't have to be here tonight. Maybe that was a miscommunication. We're going to discuss it tonight because I can't discuss it outside of a meeting.
right, okay. But I understand these blocks, like these, like it's not beneficial to have the lines if you don't understand the
And
numbers associated with them.
Just so everybody, so it's all transparent, everybody saw the email, I think. I would love to just be able to call you and tell you all this. I just can't. Not until this is done. You are a party. We are the jury. So, you know.
I affectionately call you the enemy, but that's fine. Jury's fine.
It's whatever you want to say. I mean,
So if I reach out to Aaron and say, the December 16th, if you can just sign it, and even with all the colors, get me a new Mylar, I'll tell him I'll come pick it up. But I
let's say
haven't
this.
been able to get a hold of him.
Let me put it a different way to the commission, or the people who participated in the decision. So if this is signed, should we ask them to sign it? We didn't approve a signed version. we're deliberating in the open here, but
Right.
we should expect it to be signed.
Yes.
Okay. Assigned, does everybody agree?
Yes.
You agree?
We
Andy?
gave you permission to sign.
Yep.
You probably agree to that, even though you weren't in the decision. But, okay, if we're given a copy of this that's signed, I have the authority to sign it,
Okay.
and we'll get it
Wait,
recorded.
hold on a second.
What?
Don't we want to correct the version of that with the elevations?
So what you probably, it's hard to see because I'm pointing in person, is I'm pointing at the paper copy. And I'm
Right.
saying if an identical version of what is presented in paper with only one change, that being the addition of a signature, if that appears in Mylar, I believe I have the authority to sign it at this point.
And we don't need the elevations?
No, the elevations
The
are on
elevations
it.
are with
The
the
elevations.
Okay, it's
The elevations on this.
Yeah, if you look
It's
at
the-
this, Ron,
So the
they're like
issue
blacked
is
out.
two things that were regressive and one that was progressive. So we lost elevations and we lost color, but we added a signature.
Gotcha.
All right, so we're going to try to get the best of all worlds. So we'll try to get the signature, retain the color, retain the contour.
But doesn't my permit say this has to be done by the end of March?
Well, we wrote the permit.
Okay. Okay. Because this part,
We can do.
one
we can
part's
amend the
already been
permit.
filed, because I got that back from Carol. I have to give her the actual permit page, but I was gonna do that with the Mylar. There was two things that had to be
Yeah,
filed.
Oh, so the notice of permit from Faith. Is that
Yes,
what you mean?
but that
Okay,
does
yeah, that's
also
not,
need to be
that's not us.
recorded.
But in the notice of permit, doesn't it say these things have to be done by the end of March? Or is it in the findings and decisions?
It's in the decision.
Okay. Well, I'll come down and I'll file the permit.
Do we waive the 30-day time limit to allow these changes?
Yes.
I don't see why not.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, there you go.
So I'll try to get a hold of Aaron as soon as possible and tell him that this copy with all the colors and everything, if you can just sign it and print a Mylar,
Yeah.
then I'll just get a message to you that it's...
And I will do my best to sign it within a couple of days of its appearance.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard, do work hours, they close at 4, so I'll do my best, but it'll
Oh, you
be
need to
within,
come down here?
to sign this.
They close at 4. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess technically I could sign it and throw it through the window, but that's not what you want.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that satisfy you?
Because I didn't understand when she was talking about the blocked out. I was like, what's blocked?
Yeah,
I didn't, because I
it's hard
never
to see.
saw this.
Right.
I don't know if when you speak to your guy, you can just clarify that this is probably something to do with the way in which those have been marked.
Yeah, I suspect that he just took something from one place and copied and
Yeah.
pasted it over, and when it was
I
done,
can speculate.
yeah.
So I'm going to speculate wildly here. Okay. So what this indicates to me is this is an original drawing. It means it's not a copy. All right. So they took the source file, CAD file, and so probably the way contour intervals are indicated, overlaying. You probably know this. It probably either uses a mask or it uses a buffer. I don't know if those are the terms used in AutoCAD, but those are like JS terms. The way you can combine or overlay the text on a contour line, it's doing a masking of the line underneath. And the way it did that is, there's a bug.
Yeah.
Have you seen this before?
Yeah, it's like a
It's a masking
formatting.
error.
It's just a formatting. Yeah.
Or it's either, I would say it's either a masking error because of the way it's composited, or it just doesn't have the font.
It's just.
So anyway,
It's not a big deal. It just.
they'll know the minute they see it. He just didn't look carefully enough.
No. Okay.
I do have a question though, and it's more of an operational, not specifically. How is it that it was here that long and nobody knew about it?
I should have it. If not, I'll
So
connect.
In other words,
I don't know when it actually appeared, but the only time I can even do anything with it is until the decision is signed.
Right.
Faith is issued. So that only happened a week and a half ago.
What's that?
So his question was, was it really here a month and no one noticed, or why was it? And I don't know when this.
Could I just refer to the minutes of the last meeting? AO also, this is so the 17th of February, AO also noted that the Kelly Mylar is ready for signature. Chair asked AO to clarify if the decision and permit had been recorded. At
And
that
they were.
time, they hadn't been.
Right, so I'm not even going to look at it until that's done, ever,
Okay.
because it's not ready.
Because I was like working on getting the stuff for my brother-in-law, and then there was a confusion because I recorded the findings, but I still hadn't recorded the permit, which I didn't understand was just like a single piece of
Yeah.
paper. So anyway,
And this is yet another of the many reasons why we need to revise our bylaw to make the procedure much more transparent. But once this is signed, it becomes real.
but I think it was here before that
That
because
may be,
Carol,
but-
because Carol's like, I think it's your Mylar, it's here. I think I saw it and I was like, great.
We're never in a position where we have to like verify that the Mylar is actually the same as the final plat. I don't think we've ever encountered that before.
Yeah.
So the only time it gets seen by me is when it's ready for signature. Like I don't want to come down, check it, then not act on it.
No, that's why I thought it was here, and then somebody would just stop in and sign it, and she would sign it and get recorded, and I was waiting for her, and then I finally called,
Yeah.
and she's like, well, nobody's been in. She's like, that's when she's like, they don't really stop in here during normal business hours. And then I was like,
I don't know.
oh, okay. So then I was like, well, maybe I should let somebody know it's here. Maybe I was like
Yeah.
giving you the benefit of the doubt that maybe you didn't know it was here. So then I was emailed you to say, hey, by the way, it's there.
Oh, I
right?
don't get notices of like mail.
Right.
Yeah, nobody tells me nothing. So
Yeah,
no, it was
so-
helpful to hear it. When I got that, I was like, okay, when can I stop
Now
in
it's
during
sort of
business hours?
frustrating because I'm like, here the guy got it. I finally got him to do something somewhat timely, and he got it sent here, and then
Well, the rush is now a leave because
Okay.
you don't have the deadline now. So
so I just gotta get a hold of him.
reprocess it.
So I could take this, right? This is garbage. Nobody wants this, right?
Well, that's not the one that's going to be signed, so yeah. And that
Or you
will,
want to leave it here to check it?
Probably makes sense to just leave it unless you have a reason.
No.
Okay.
Just to throw it in the fire.
Unless you want to showing the screw up.
well, yeah, that would be the reason.
Well, I can.
All right. So
As soon as he looks at what was printed, he should have known.
You probably want to take a photo of it because
Yeah.
a look at it on the computer, it probably looks fine. It's when you printed it, it gets screwed up.
yeah.
I'll show you how this works. It's so easy.
Do we have any updates on Hoyler, McDonald, Carney?
So, the update that I have received is that they are in the process of getting the survey done, and asked for the third time, and I did respond for the third time with the subdivision application and the request that they fill it in.
Fill it out. Okay. All right.
They expect the survey to be done in May.
Okay.
So,
Who are they doing it with?
I don't know.
Okay. Just curious. I'll go back. All right. Thank you, Lisa.
I have a question about that one. Why can't we do this as a boundary line adjustment?
We are
Simplify
kind
it.
of, we may be.
But they have to fill out a subdivision application,
Yeah.
though.
And they have to do a survey.
Survey, absolutely, got to do a survey,
Yeah.
for sure.
But
But I don't know with
bigger-
after survey, why it needs anything else.
Well, boundary line adjustment is still.
Yeah, we don't actually have a form for a boundary line adjustment.
It's under subdivision regulations, but it's a boundary line adjustment.
But we just did one last month about a 20-foot one. We can do them without going through a subdivision.
For minor, yeah, we call them insignificant or minor alterations.
Right.
That one was like 10 feet or
Right,
something.
it was
This is extinguishing a lot, so it's, I think, objectively
Yeah, I also didn't
major.
understand why extinguishing a lot would be an issue. Lots get extinguished when a person buys an adjacent lot, I believe.
No.
It ends up in one span number.
Yeah, but it's still a lot.
Okay, it doesn't show it on the parcel viewer, but maybe it does.
So yes and no. So it does and it doesn't. So they're called it's an inactive layer. So our town is a little bit unusual in that we don't publish that, but it still exists. If you look at the paper copies of the tax maps, you'll see a dashed line, and you'll see different deed records for each
Okay.
So, yeah, so if you go onto the parcel viewer, like through A&R Atlas, probably a better way than the parcel viewer site, you can turn on the, I think they call it, I could be wrong, but I think it's called the inactive parcel boundary layer.
Yeah, because the parcels that
They get
you
so-
see are the tax maps. So if somebody owns two adjacent parcels, even though they're separate parcels,
You could still convey them
for tax-
separately.
Yes, you can
for
convey
tax
them, yeah.
Yeah,
purposes.
so those are real, yeah, so.
Anyway, it just seemed like it'd be a very simple thing to do for these people, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, so well, there's a number of reasons why, I think we've determined that it's not insignificant. And I think there's better transparency and due process if we have a hearing. And you can write a decision.
And the way they were doing it, you still got to wait for the survey.
Well, survey's fine.
The cost is the same.
I just wouldn't go through all the rest. I would just, well, that's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just keep keep tabs, I guess. All right. All right, so let's move on to welcoming Ron and the rest of the new business. Let's see here. So Ron is here. He's replacing, filling out the rest of Andrew Seward's term. I'd like to welcome Ron as our newest member. I think it's important to at least acknowledge, while there have been some difficult exchanges in the recent past, we're all ready to move on. I think that's been agreed upon, and I hope that we can work together respectfully. Ron has told the select board that he's ready to listen, learn, and work collaboratively with us, and we should welcome that and him. And in that same spirit, we look forward to working with him as we continue to serve the town. Our work requires all of us to keep learning and to remain open to the experience and perspectives that each member brings to this body, as well as those of the members of our community who come before us. And so I think this is a good opportunity, and especially whenever a commissioner joins us midterm rather than at our annual meeting, reorganization meeting. It's a good opportunity to confirm that you've received the rules of procedure and the conflict of interest policy, which is also on the agenda, but we'll get to that. But you have the rules,
Yes.
okay. And you understand that those documents guide our work. And it's also an important reminder that we all, as commissioners, have a duty to approach our work impartially, grounded in the town plan, our bylaws, the facts before us, and always in the best interests of the community as a whole. Personal advocacy and private agendas have no place in the work of the commission. Because the select board has, I guess just this past meeting, readopted their conflict of interest policy, it's a good time for us all to confirm our understanding of that policy, and accordingly, it's the next item on the agenda. So, I think with only one small change, the existing policy was readopted, the change being just the operative dates. So let's look at it. Everybody has seen it, I hope. I think I made one copy. Do you have any more copies?
I haven't, I've read it.
So I just want to point out that,
Computer too,
do you have them?
I think I have my computer too, but that's fine.
The kind of important part for us is, I'll identify, I think it's Article 3, let's see. So it binds us in Article 3. The policy applies to all individuals in statutorily appointed roles as quasi-judicial functions. So that's the Planning Commission. Does everybody understand that part? Okay. I won't go through all of it, right? You can read it. All normal stuff. I just wanted to point out that, because we had discussed this at previous meetings on whether we needed to adopt it or whatever, but we're covered. It binds us. And does anybody have any questions about anything that's contained within that we should seek to clarify or?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah, I do.
All right.
Because I've worked with other nonprofits, and it is not explicitly clear that you also are dealing with perception. So even if there is not an actual physical, if you will, conflict, if there is a perception of a conflict, you need to acknowledge it. And that's what's a little,
It does have that
I
too.
thought it was in here.
It's in Article 7, perceived conflict, is that what you mean?
did I miss that?
Yeah.
I thought I saw it also.
Article 7, first sentence.
Oh, it says,
Yes.
or an actual perceived conflict.
And that's
I
pretty
take it back.
consistent with, recusal or disqualification language, like across the board. Like it's
Right.
usually actual or apparent or something. So there's
Right.
variations of words you can use there.
Because
Perceived.
it did come up at a select board meeting in a rather, a difficult way, if you will, when there was a discussion of I think it was the liquor license.
I don't really want to go
Okay.
down that road.
All right, I'm just saying.
But I hear what you're saying. Is it does come up on occasion.
The individual didn't think there was a problem when you read this, because a family was involved, it was a problem as a conflict.
Okay, well, without
It had to be exposed.
without
That's all I'm
rehashing the
saying.
okay, but so are you saying that you approve of the current draft?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or things we should seek to clarify from the select board? I don't have any. Andy?
I think the only thing that was running through my mind on this is that, to Steve's point, I think the way I look at it is that, as public officers, we have a responsibility to avoid engaging in conduct that might create the appearance of a conflict of interest, so that you're not in the position of having to recuse yourself because of the appearance. You shouldn't get in that position in the first place.
Okay.
But I think the policy covers it.
Okay, great. So we'll just ask the obvious question. Do you all agree, do we all agree to abide by it? I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
All right. Great.
Yes.
Good enough. All right. Next was what? Resolution for the...
It's a housing.
Oh, no, we're doing a housing study. Okay. I don't think I printed it. So it's a fairly long document I didn't print.
Fairly?
Yeah.
Fairly?
So what I was hoping we could just start, I mean, it's going to be a long conversation with the select board and others on action items and follow-up from this. But I wanted to, and it is a final now. We've gotten Jeff's sign-off, basically.
We've given everybody time to comment. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if my sign up.
It's gotta
agent, but
be a line in the sand somewhere. You can't have it linger.
it's done.
It's done.
We're done with it.
Okay. So I was hoping we could start the discussion on your thoughts on the action plan, your response to it, your thoughts on what concrete measures we could take. What I remember, I apologize that I didn't print at least that part. There were several things that I think are directly relevant to the Planning Commission. Obviously, the subdivision regulations part is directly on point. But it suggested that one of the reasons that, and correct me if you have, or tell me if you have a different view on what it says, that housing and therefore property tax burden is somewhat proportional to our ability to build new homes in the right kind, for people that are underserved, year-long residents, working families, younger families who can provide workers for businesses, kids for the school, and the elderly, seniors. Our ability to build those kinds of homes is constrained very heavily by the availability of wastewater dispersal or no sewer system, rather. The kind of development that the state incentivizes or really demands us to pursue, being community-based, denser development, things like ADUs, clustered housing, village center expansion is even more constrained because most people are at the limits of their wastewater capacity, or have even, especially like Belmont, have even sought exemptions from the permitting because they're well over the limits. So I think that's one thing. And one of the things that the study says is that local champions are essential. The people who really can move an issue forward, especially something as complex in a way as wastewater permitting or funding. So that's, I think, one thing that we can take on. Subdivision updates that I think there's a couple of things that we can look at there as we look to guide our subdivision update process. I think one is finding a way through the subdivision bylaw to incentivize year-round residency or building homes that may be occupied year-round. Enhancing our ability to build ADUs, accessory dwellings. So not always thinking about things in terms of like your maybe prototypical lot, house in the middle kind of setups. Utilizing back lots. I think they called it cottage courts, a little bit more creative ways of building. Sharing septic systems. So you may not even have your own septic system, right? Some couple of houses could share one. I think all of those things are things we can tune our bylaw to encourage or to incentivize. Part of that is sort of built on the idea that you need to understand where the development will go. Building envelopes and understanding a bit more about the configuration of the lots. And I think we can probably start to think creatively about what are the actual barriers people are seeing in terms of getting started. Maybe this is something that Lisa, I'm sure, has lots of thoughts on. We have land, we have some willing people, we basically have no zoning. You were sort of like, on paper, you'd say there are very few barriers, because if you look at other towns that have like tons and tons of red tape to get through to build anything,
Yeah.
we don't. We have very, very little.
And that's something when I'm talking to people and they're looking at buying in Vermont, I bring that up to them. If an agent says to you, I'm completely knowledgeable about every community in southern Vermont and the ins and outs, I tell the buyer, I say, call them on, because I've been doing this over 20 years and there's huge differences in communities. To try to do development even in our sister community, Shrewsbury, is monumentally harder than trying to do something here. So, and other towns have these weird restrictions that are gonna, inhibit the ability to develop land.
Yeah, I can tell you one little quick thing. I'll let you continue, but I want a quick aside. Off the record, I spoke to a select board member of an adjacent municipality who said, God, I wish we were more like Mount Holly, that we could build the affordable housing we want. Because actually they want to build housing and they're constrained by their own regulations.
So when we own.
We don't have that problem.
We own in Shrewsbury, we actually have a really desirable piece that we looked at subdividing and putting up several like cluster housing right along the 103 corridor. But when we went to even just broach the subject, it was like, well, I think there's a bear habitat and something else. And it was obvious they have zero interest in people developing land in Shrewsbury.
Was that a while ago, or was that?
It was a while ago,
Yeah.
but I mean, that corridor, and if you're not familiar, we own the big blue house as you're coming through Cuttingsville, and we have an old building there with a duplex, but we own all the way to the railroad track. Where those cows are, that's our property. So we were looking at, could we do a few little tiny houses or some ranches or set up, and have some more,
Across from where Keith just bought. That might think of the right spot.
No, it's further along.
No, you gotta come through Cuttingsville and you
Go
come
through
around the
the
bend
second
and it's
Oh, past Cunningsville from this
By
direction.
itself. Like,
by itself, it's a big piece, it's a light blue
Past the
house with
last
a bright
bridge,
blue
right.
roof.
Oh, yeah.
Before you
It's where Hans Electric used to be years ago.
The pizza place that's there before the pizza place, little tiny
Yeah.
pizza place.
But anyway,
So, but by Gabe?
I don't know the name.
You know where
Cross-
the, you know
cross
where the
road
bridge
to
has
the
been
old
hit? It's
hotel.
like Jersey.
It's all
Shore.
falling down.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
But anyway,
All right,
but-
I know it.
to that thing, I think there's a lot of things that, like when we talked to Brian Raffinati about the piece that we've been dealing with for several years, he said, we were like, let's just put in can we get it to perk for a 3-bedroom septic system? And he's like, why wouldn't you do 5? Like 2. He goes, it's the same size tank, it's another length of pipe, but then it opens up options for you to have an ADU. So having these engineers educate people so that you could share septic systems, like it's much better for the environment to have a 5 or 6 bedroom system than 2 3-bedroom systems.
Right, well, having like one driveway and 3 homes around it is a
Right.
much better for everybody.
Right.
Ordinarily, you'd see like this, that's why I was kind of describing as this old school
I mean,
thinking of
our
having.
long-term vision is that we're gonna put up a driveway to go back there to here, but I see my son Calvin having a house there that'll be hooked, somewhere, like some sort of into the system, but it'll be hopefully a little family compound, but
That's kind of what I meant is that if everybody thought about approaching building homes as everybody has their own driveway, everybody has their own septic, everybody has to pay for pulling in their utilities, all of those things really, really add up.
Right.
And they become cost prohibitive, right? But if we can somehow encourage through our regulations, well, no, we can have one shared utility access, one shared drive, one shared wastewater system, one shared well, then you have a much
it just needs to be
lower
clear,
barrier.
I think, when you're doing that, and it's hard to enforce, like if you have, so shared driveways become an issue if there's no road maintenance agreement for banks. I can just tell you how many deals I've lost because had a family that put in a a subdivision years ago, and there was a shared driveway, and so now it's different people own it, but there's no agreement in place. I think Patchbrook Road, when that guy put that in, there was not, so you're all laughing. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but
Because that went to the Supreme Court, I think, didn't it?
But my point
That's a
is
big
that those theories
disaster.
are good, but it becomes then what other obstacles are you putting in the way? If you have common driveways as a way to mitigate, then how do you enforce that? Or what happens when you're having a shared well, and the well breaks, or you need a new pump, and you got one person doesn't want to pay, so then how do you,
What was your solution for the one you were hoping to do?
the what?
You said you were hoping to do a small development, cluster
Oh
development.
yeah, I'll just boot my son out. I mean, if he's not gonna pay his share, but I
We keep it all as one property. It's just
Right.
to try to divide it up and
Like
sell
share
rent.
So that's
some things.
that's great. That's what I was hoping to elicit from you. Okay, so you didn't actually intend to subdivide it. You just intended to have different buildable lots. So
Not buildable lots, but have maybe different structures,
Sites, building
sites that
building
are on
sites,
there.
call them what you want, building areas. But I think that's something we should absolutely think about as we're
That'll
designing
help
new
keep
bylaws.
people in the community.
We don't
if-
have to necessarily
Generational.
parcel.
Right.
I mean, you're different.
Like we don't necessarily have to parcelize in every case, right? We could
And I tell
have.
people all the
Now,
time, I'm
how would you structure the ownership interest? Would you do a lease? How would you? How would
I
you?
don't know. I haven't gotten that far because I
Okay.
can't get the Mylar done. So, you know, I mean, I have to, I'm a busy person, so I can only allow so much time to go on to these little daydreams. My husband's got it all mapped out for the next 40 years, but
Okay.
when I talk to people, I often will say to them, if you buy a big piece, there's no law that says you have to have it subdivided. You can look at your piece and you can say, well, we're gonna develop it in this way, that you just have multiple structures that are habitable, but you don't actually have to go through this, especially if it's one family. Like, make it easier on yourself. Like, don't add this to that, have the in-law suite or have the little granny home that's nearby and have common things
Yeah.
that help with the cost. But
Well, I think what you're talking about, like, for example, on the subdivision we did this evening, that we had the public hearing on, they could have done a cooperative, if you created a
Right.
co-op of sorts, and they could have shared costs on the property without subdividing.
I mean, I think
Still
there's a-
build two
So
houses.
jump in. So like their statute does consider that a subdivision. It's just not done through creating new lots.
Right.
So subdivision authority extends to creating new buildable areas. So there's also another thing which is sometimes considered separate. It's like
Well, then how can
PUDs,
you do
planned
an
units.
ADU
You just,
without?
Oh, that you
it's all
don't.
on the same property.
Well,
You're not-
it's the same, it's,
You just gotta take care of your wastewater and public.
well, but let's say they were going to share the well and the wastewater.
I don't think it would work in that situation because they each own their own piece. Maybe if they wanted to rent, I guess, but
Well, yeah, there's lots of different things here, right? So I think probably a significant number of ADUs are either rented or they're family members for, using
Right.
it for no cost.
We're
So,
seeing
like,
more of this where kids can't afford to live on their own. So you're seeing more of these kids that are staying in houses longer, needing their own space, but also our parents are living longer and need help, so that you're bringing them in.
And sometimes they end up swapping, right?
Right.
So sometimes the parents will end up in the ADU. I've seen that on a couple of
Yeah,
occasions.
so,
They don't want to take care
but
of the
you're
house.
seeing
so
more of
the
this,
younger-
it's not uncommon in areas like Europe where you're sort of like you're stuck with your family and they're there, but here, there's like this American idealism where the kids are 18, you boot them out, and then you live your life, and mom and dad get old, you put them in a home, but now they're like bringing them in because it's expensive to do that, and the kids can't afford to live on their own. So you're seeing multi-generational
Yeah.
families and more people looking for that. The option, like, can I buy this house and add an in-law suite? Can I finish the garage and make an apartment for the kids? Because these are real
I have
housing
another
issues.
reason for it, from my own perspective, is that it's very desirable for childcare.
Yeah,
So most people I know can't afford childcare.
all right.
The only way you can actually do it is like through family members. So having, grandparents on site is
Yeah.
hugely important.
eventually those grandparents need assisted living, but which is way get expensive, and if you can,
Right, if you
your
bring them
kids can
in,
then
and then
Yeah.
now grandma's there, can help out, but it's, the conversation when I first started selling real estate 20 years ago wasn't there. Now it's almost everybody I talk to looks at that ability to either add an income-based apartment above a garage or add some sort of, in-law suite or doing things, because it's a reality that you're gonna have to, have more family members in space. But if more engineers gave people that option to say, hey, don't just build a 3-bedroom septic, design one that's 5 bedrooms and gives you that flexibility. It's the cost, I guarantee, is not much more money.
Yeah. And I would say
benefit
that
is
not only
also-
having the engineers savvy on it, but like having bylaws that don't like use sort of antiquated ideas or terminology.
Right.
Like to make it clear that that is a pathway through the regulation and one that is even encouraged. The other thing that isn't, I think, addressed in this study that I've seen press on recently is this idea of like sort of spec homes or like pre-approved, homes that a municipality would say like have sort of like regulatory.
Oh, we're talking
thumbs
like
up.
mobile, like it's been on the. It was,
I think they call it, is it 802 home or something like,
Yeah.
so they say like there's like, a municipality can sort of like adopt like, oh, these are 3 types of developments that we kind of, an engineer could just come in and do. Or,
You mean they could say we'll accept these kinds of modular homes?
well, I don't know if they're
Or are you
modular or
talking-
not.
or
It's
are
like
you
a
talking
building
about-
spec that if you built it to that, your site plan, your building, that you would basically, I mean, not be assured of regulatory approval, but like streamlined process. Something to look at.
We don't have regulatory approval here except septic, and so we don't, it's not, just as you started out,
Well, it's
unlike
subdivision.
Shrewsbury, I mean, people,
right, yeah.
there's no electrical code or there's state codes, but as a town, you pay $20 and you build your house and you get a septic permit and a well permit.
I think it's 25.
Okay, so in that sense, we have an advantage. You don't really have to, I can see your
And I
point.
use that as a selling point to come to Mount Holly. I'm
My point
like,
is
our
to
process is so much
create
easier
lots.
here. And then having now gone through it, I realize what a hypocrite I am. But it is. You know, you fill out a form, you pay $25 and Carol stamps it. You can, I mean, an 8-year-old can draw the spec that you need to do, and I've done it. You know, it's not a hindrance, but other towns, it's not the same. You're right, Ron. I mean, it's trying to get anything done in some of these other communities. I mean, good luck trying to get, like, I don't know what they're gonna do with that potbelly thing. I mean, they like tore down the
They're
whole,
revisiting it. I think I read something. that
they tore the whole building down, and now they're like, oh, well, now, like, what are we gonna do? And now they wanna tear down the building next to it, so what are you gonna do? Like, have a town full of chain link fence and destroyed buildings? Could you,
That's how Newport, Vermont was. Still went down there and tore down the
like,
block.
come on, you know, like, let's,
Yeah, well, on the one hand, it's a big advantage for us. On the other hand, it does put more emphasis on the importance of the subdivision regulations that we do have, because once lots are created, there isn't zoning to cover them and to guide the growth. So we do have to sort of think pretty carefully about when we do create lots and what is anticipated for their use.
I think that education is important because I mean, 6 months ago, you were the one that told me that. I didn't really, when we were talking about ADUs for the housing study, I didn't even, and living here for as long as I have, not realize that, you know, in the village, if somebody wanted to put a accessory structure out, it's really just make sure you have good septic and. You know,
Well, then they don't have septic, so like nobody even thinks about it.
Right.
right, and I mean, it is an issue in Belmont because the lots are so tiny and you have a lot of encroachments and carryovers and, you know, you need a certain amount of space to make sure things happen.
Your
in the
well
right way.
isolation, basically, yeah.
And you have a lot of like modified systems to sort of, because they're grandfathered in.
Yeah.
The state has to give them their best fix, but the best fix doesn't mean that it's good. So,
Right, and we've kind of made it worse in a way, in my estimation, over time because we have moved everyone, almost everyone off of the Mechanicsville aquifer and the other aquifer to wells, and now we have wells in
we
close
didn't give up
proximity.
our spring rights, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, they still exist, sort of.
But the problem, I mean, when we were on the spring and it was just not working.
So I think we're on a different spring.
You're
but
on a different spring, but we did get the state approval, but what that requires is that you cut off access from the spring. You have to, because
you need a deep water source, not
yeah,
not a
well, we were near the road, near the brook, near
Oh,
the
I'm not
septic.
suggesting that we go back to this.
But
aquifer.
the state allowed it, but they said, you know, but you have to cut off access to the spring system. So, you know, sometimes these are.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so some of this will be getting into our next agenda item here, but I think it's important that what you're saying is important that there's a lot of ways that we can educate people on the opportunities available, but also one of the ways we educate people is through like what is our like official guidance, what are our regulations. So like we could just like sort of expect people to know there's like the absence of regulation, but that's not the same as saying
There's none.
we actually want you to do it.
Right.
And where I think what people are realizing now, and I'm realizing, the housing study realizes this is almost a crisis where our taxes are going way up because we're not doing something else. And okay, so let's get back to the action plan. So what can we do here in this commission? There's things that the select board can do independent of us. There's things that people outside in the community can do. Okay, there's a number of things we've discussed on what we can do with subdivision regulations. Those are more than we have time for today. But one of the things I think we can take immediate action on is, I'll just move right into it since we're getting a little late. I would like to establish a committee to explore a wastewater dispersal, a central community scale wastewater system in Belmont. We have discussed this various times, many times. It's discussed in detail in the town plan, many town plans, our Belmont Village Plan. Going on, it's been discussed for 30 years or more. More.
David Ho goes way
72,
back.
I think.
What a great guy.
Goes way back.
Yeah.
We're at the point where, I mean, in my estimation, personally, not speaking for the commission here, I don't think we would have had a disagreement about some of the things going on with the store if we had a wastewater system for the village. I don't think we would have the housing issues we have now if we had a wastewater system for the village. I think we would have a lot more vitality. We'd have more year-long residents, a lot of things. That being said, we now have a position where we can maybe do something about it. My understanding is the funding is available, and it just needs to, like, a lot of, they don't give away money for free. You have to really fight for it, but it's apparently there. So I would like to, I'm just going to read a resolution here. Let me see where it is. They had it somewhere. Oh yeah, okay. Pursuant to the rules of procedure and in light of the recently released housing needs assessment and the town plan, I hereby establish the Belmont Village Wastewater Planning Committee as an advisory committee of the commission for the purpose of investigating and making recommendations concerning the feasibility, planning, funding, and potential implementation of a community-scale wastewater system for Belmont Village. The committee shall report its work product to the commission at warned, actually that should be noticed meetings, where appropriate for inclusion in the meeting record. I would request that Commissioner Unterman, Ron, and Faith report back as sort of our Belmont experts, report back next month at our regular meeting with, I would suggest, 5 to 7 prospective members for the committee, which seems like a good number. Does anybody think it should be a different number?
That's like everybody that lives in Belmont.
Pretty close.
Well, it's similar to what we had for the housing committee, or whatever, not committee, but
Yeah.
advisory group.
I have a bigger question when you're done, though, about it. So finish.
Yeah, that's it. So report back with a list of prospective members at next month's meeting. Faith has already agreed to it.
I'm not going to agree to it until I understand it better. I don't know why we're looking for housing. Why will a wastewater treatment system would have helped the existing homes, though many of them over the last 30 years have put in new septic, right? So they no longer have the urgency that they did 30 or 40 years ago when the building used to smell, literally, right? Why?
Last weekend?
I don't know about that. That was the fish. All right, isn't that what you said? Why Belmont Village when it's a horse in a cart? I guess I'm looking at. Would we want to find the land first, where it would be appropriate to build low-cost housing, and then try to site a wastewater system there? How many housing units would we potentially get by putting and first, where would that wastewater treatment system be? They have land.
These are very good questions for the committee to consider.
But I'm saying, why even go down that route when I think a priori I have a sense that the land may be, I would look for the land first before doing anything. And secondly, why there? I would think you'd want to find a place where you could put in 20 houses, 10 houses, where we could get a grant for a really decent system and have cluster building. But I would start with the land first, in my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, some of which have been discussed in the town plan and the Belmont plan, et cetera, and in the housing study. But the funding is almost exclusively available for village centers.
Okay.
As we've discussed, the lowest hanging fruit for new housing is in ADU development. This would 100% enable that in Belmont, because even the people who have permitted their own wastewater systems, from the data we have, they're at capacity. So this is data driven. So we surveyed everyone in Belmont Village that would be in the immediate village center. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was like a 75% wanted to pursue a feasibility study for a community wastewater system. And that's in the Belmont Village plan.
Right.
So unfortunately at that time, no one volunteered to lead the effort. And so that's why it hasn't moved forward. But based on the recommendation of the housing study, we have the opportunity to do that as a town.
I think Ron's questions are valid though. I mean, it's like, where would you put it and who is it gonna benefit? Like you said, like for, like us, we already put in the new system, the people next door. Like so many people have already put in brand new septics. There's like not an incentive for them to tie into this. And maybe they are at capacity, but like, where would this additional housing be? Like, where would these extra units be in village? I mean, I'm trying to think
Right.
like, where could you even, maybe Andy Blalek's land, you could do some cluster housing, but it's not his land anymore. It belongs to the store, but I think they're valid questions, but maybe that's like why you,
Questions for the committee, I would say, to weigh.
to respond back and say, we this is
Yeah, I
our,
mean, it may be a very short-lived committee too.
yeah. but
Well,
they-
also based on the village itself, the borders. There's not land, except like you said, Andy's old land, and I'm not
You
even
got
sure that was in the village.
Balestras have a
There's a
chunk.
lot of land in Belmont Village. And so the permitting stuff and the
Not on the
financial
board-
incentives.
not on the
Well, let me
borders.
finish. So the exceptions for village centers, I think it extends a buffer like a quarter mile outside the village. And there's just look at the aerial photo. There's a significant amount of land.
I didn't hear your last sentence.
The incentives for building and the regulatory sort of exceptions that are applied, like Act 250 exceptions, et cetera, I think they extend, I'd have to check the exact number, I think it's a quarter mile outside the village center. And if you look at an aerial photo, you look at our town plan maps, there's there's more room in Belmont than you think. Almost all the development is along the roads. There are some very significant, unused, in some cases completely empty lots.
Well,
I think that putting together the people, the stakeholders to figure this all out, and if the conclusion is, I think this is what Jeff was just saying, if the conclusion of the committee is it's not worth it or there's no interest, that's a finding.
We can check the box and say,
That's a finding. Then we move on and look for something else.
if you can add a half mile to the current borders, then you may have a point.
No. So what I said is outside the designated center, which is a boundary that the state at this moment is unwilling to change. So I requested that when I applied for the new designation. They declined. They don't want to do that. They don't do that in general. But they do have a regulatory, they call it a buffer, that exempts these kinds of things from certain regulations and provides funding within, I think it's a quarter mile radius.
I would say, if you established a system in the village and you went down, and I'm gonna say Maple Hill Road just because you live there, but I'm sure there would be a way to work with the state to, go another 700 feet down a road. Like, I don't think there's a lot of parties going after the money. And this isn't a instant, this is like a 10-year or 15-year plan, so we can't just look at how it is right now, but like more forward thinking for the next generation. But it's obviously like, if it stays the way
Yeah,
it
do
is,
we want another business for the village, for example?
Right.
Yeah, and lots of things that could be different 10 years now.
It's a 50-year, I mean, it's not just the immediate.
No, I'm not disagreeing with the idea. I'm just saying the key is going to define what the village will be, and the present lines are rather tight.
Right, but I'm saying that's not the same. So
Well,
The
that's
village-
what I'm saying. I didn't know.
the vicinity of the village, I think they
I mean,
apply
yeah,
a
if you've got a
mile.
quarter-mile expansion around that village center line, well, that's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there could be
And the slope of the land and stuff, it still restricts you considerably.
you'd really have to head down Tarbleville with your,
I mean, there's a lot of.
without pumping. I mean, you could,
And there's only 3 properties down through there that could take a large leach field.
You probably wouldn't be looking at leach field, you look at some sort of processing.
Well, processing plant, you'd be talking $5-10 million.
That's not what we've heard.
The original
before.
plan had a large leach field down by you.
There is no plan.
There is no plan.
Well, no, that was in the village plan. When you first presented it, it was a leach
there
field,
was different discussions. Yeah.
yeah,
But-
down by roughly
Well, that was looking at
her
geology.
property.
But the other thing is that we had a presentation 2 years
I
ago.
think so. It's hard to imagine 2 years ago.
Somewhere I'll find the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
There might even be a
Well, I
recording
remember
of
at
it.
the time Phil
Which-
Driscoll was interested.
Which basically talked about different types of community septic, and we're talking small, but there was a whole list of potential options. There were pictures of what things might look like, and there was an indication of costs. So let me see if I can find that PowerPoint.
I mean, 5 years ago, we probably didn't picture the store being in the condition that it's in, and somebody actually putting the commitment into rehabbing it. I don't know what the next 5 years are going to bring, or the next 10 years. So,
And potentially, presumably, you could consider sort of not just a single system, but systems to meet different constituents. So, for example, if another business did come in, and you've already got a couple of businesses there, maybe they would be interested in looking at something that met their needs. Whereas if it's residential, you have a different constituency, and they're looking for different.
even better next year's.
See, if you've got something like Hawk Mountain has over there, everything they've got comes down to the bottom of the mountain, and there's basically a 1-acre leach field down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was lots of, in some cases, even creative ways of doing these things. The point is that you never really get to that point if you don't start the process and start putting one foot in front of the other. And I think some of the testimony that we got, I don't remember who it was from, that permit authority, but like there's ways that you could even do, you could have multiple end points, is my understanding. So you can have, the hard part is like getting the infrastructure, getting the piping in, connecting people's, and you could have it, one configuration is like people could keep their tanks and just have the effluent dispersal connected, or you could do a different system that connects things before tanks, or you can have a piping system of just effluent, but like multiple leach fields essentially, depending on the capacity needs. There's all kinds of, once the engineers get involved, they have a way of solving the problems.
And the goal of the committee isn't to build the thing. The goal of the committee is just to further the discussion about feasibility. I think.
Understand the needs,
Yeah, I think
the
that's
desires.
that's-
Yeah.
Signing up to this isn't signing up to building it. It's just it's the next step if we were ever going to do something. I think
And-
that's the way I'm looking at it.
Right, and what we've been told is that
And if,
stakeholders in the area need to be involved, but the state expects that. I think people in town expect that.
because
And we can't like sort of imagine it for them, I guess.
likely it would probably be not, it wouldn't be a town entity, but like a fire district type format, wastewater district.
That's one way of like building a structure around, maintenance and fee taking. Like, yeah, that's one tool.
The burden of the
Yeah.
users, not the burden of the town.
Yeah.
Like it's also not.
So one of the reasons that this is the primary, initial primary target is money for village centers.
I think it's more altruistic. I think it's more altruistic. It's just we've established it's known in the county, it's known in the state. There's a housing shortage. It's do we want to maybe try to foster something, and then it's okay fostering at the easiest spot where there is development in this town, or I mean you could go somewhere in a random field, but like I think the plans we have in place more encourage growth in the village center. So I don't think it's serving the use of, keep going.
I mean, I understand. We go through Proctorsville and when you get to Cavendish, those 3 or 4 houses, that cluster, that's the type of thing I see as filling the housing need. And that's why when I read the plan and thought about it, I mean...
Which those are like housing trusts being established, and they're not the town building it per se, but...
Right.
Nonprofit.
There has to be some, and there's no money to do this. And since real estate, as you started out, is so expensive in our town, there's probably not a lot of private incentive for someone to take a lot and put on a $200,000 home, right? But that's why I thought that and housing is the target. Is the objective to help the village of Belmont deal with its effluent problem. That was true 30 years ago. I don't think it's as true today. And if I were to do this de novo, I would go out to 103 and look at a piece of land there and think about how to put in 2 to 10 is what the plan said, but say a development of 10 houses. And that'd be great. That's a lot of houses. I don't see how we get 10 in Belmont Village, even as ADUs, right? So that's why I'm a priori, I just have a sense. Again, you're not asking, you're only asking to do the analysis. But in my own feeling, it's not the place. It's a little bit of gaslighting because the money's there, right?
So that's not what I said. So there's a whole suite of reasons why Belmont is the first of potentially many targets for increasing housing availability, right? I think Jeff was saying, tell me if I'm wrong, money is one, but probably the best reason is that we have like you said, 40 years of 50 years of plans saying that's what we should do. And that goes a very long way, first of all, to unlocking the money, but also as documenting a real substantial need. And when we look at all of the due diligence that's going to be required to move forward on this, citing all of that is not just useful, it's like mandatory, it's prerequisite. So I fully estimate that this will not be the last of a committee of this kind. And I kind of anticipate probably next year we're kind of toying with the idea of applying for another planning grant to look at a different area. But this is the one we have. And this is a direct recommendation of this housing study, of our town plan and the Belmont plan. I mean, that's the trifecta. So if it, like we've said many times now, if it's the conclusion from this committee's work that it's not worth it, or there's really no need, then fine.
The loss, it sounds like we were in the Belmont community center, right? It seemed like there was interest and then it just curbed right off, I think.
I would say excitement even at one point.
And I don't know if it was when I said, maybe this wasn't, that the burden of the cost would not be probably bared by the whole town as a whole, but by the users. And maybe you were in the room, you were there for that whole period.
But I think
It seemed like it just dropped off like after a while.
But that was possibly people who've recently replaced a septic, so they feel they don't
We're
want
good for
to
30
yet.
years.
But for those whose septic is failing or about to fail,
Or the homes that aren't really occupied, that will eventually go for sale and then have system issues.
yeah, and
They have become-
for people who, especially, this was Philip Blyskell and their neighbour, they're slightly beyond the village centre, but they have a fairly appalling septic situation. They were interested. So, I mean, I think there is definitely interest in the concept, but if people have recently invested, then obviously they're going to say, I don't need to. But the management of it and the idea that, people were concerned that they might have to pay, that would obviously have to be considered in terms of, well, what would be the cost of having to replace your entire septic if it fails?
Also, we don't have to speculate,
Anyway,
right? We have the actual
yeah.
data from
Yeah,
the
we have-
survey. We have their own opinion, like they said, very, very strongly in favor of pursuing at least a feasibility study
Yeah, that was,
as the first step. Even including people who had recently replaced their system. So I'm not going to try to put words in their mouth, but that's their answer. So
The other point that you made is there's been a long history of an interest in this. But I would repeat what I said. The original history, going back 40 to 50 years, I can't remember when David was doing this, was to prevent pollution, right? Not for housing. It was the village was polluted. So that's not true anymore. We're controlling that as well as we can, we think. Anyway, the problem with me volunteering is my heart's not in this. I have to tell you, I'm being honest with you. I don't know that this is going to go anywhere, and that if I were to choose, I would, Cavendish jumps out at me as a way to do this. The question, where would you put I know this will be answered in the study, where would you put it? Who's interested in it? Who's going to pay for it? When you go through all of those questions, my gut says it's not the right place to choose.
approaching it from a zero sum, there's only one place to
I'm sorry, again, I'm a little hard of hearing.
So there doesn't have to be one place to choose, right? So it's the scenario that Lisa was describing earlier is something that I'm certain we will see appear, and we can do things to encourage it, but it's probably not one that we do as a town capital spending effort or approaching from request, and I don't think it's something that the state would fund directly. I think we can only do what we can, and we can only do what we have the data to motivate, right? And I think we absolutely, I think that to me, it's 100% clear that we have the data to move forward. We have the interest, we have the justification. Everything we've written in the last 10 years, I can certainly personally attest that very little to do with the lake stinking. It had to do with other growth concerns.
Growth, actually.
Both, whatever. And I think we have more to do to get to the point where we as a town can decide it's not worth it. And I think the people that need to be involved in are people that are stakeholders in Belmont primarily.
I'm not to say everybody that is on the committee has to be a proponent of it. I mean, it should be a mixture of, right?
I mean,
Not a bunch of
I would be objective.
Yeah.
Well, I just to be truthful.
And I don't think this doesn't need to be a giant
on it
lift
to
either.
expect you to be its champion. But I do know that you're savvy and you're able to engage with everyone in Belmont, and you know a lot of the history.
Based on previous project experience in the village. Dan?
Yeah, but again,
It's something to
I
be
knew all the
said.
neighbors around the lake.
There's something to be said for having a skeptic, right? It's
Yes.
none of this really should be like, let's definitely do something because we already know.
If you do
It's
it,
about what data do we need, what do we need to confirm, and who do we need to prove it to.
Sorry, what did
And
you just
I'd be.
I said if he does it, I'll do it. But it's not going to be. We're not going to make it. We don't need to go a huge left. It's Dan's sitting down, making all the questions that we writing down everything we just discussed is probably step one.
You'll do it, Jeff. I will do it.
Okay.
You convinced me. And you can't, what did you say? You chose me? You should.
Yeah, I mean, I could assign the
You could have
committee.
asked me.
Well,
Yes.
you could not participate. I can't do anything to you.
No. I'm just saying, use the word. I just want to say, I'll do it. And Jeff and I don't know if Faith's
I'm
going to.
not a direct stakeholder either, so I'd probably.
I'm not either.
I'd be a.
I'm not a stakeholder either.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
If I were you, I would ask that fine person over there too, but she's already too busy. But
She is busy.
Which is, I think, why it goes
At least
back
we
to
come up with the right
it's
questions.
not a huge. Don't make.
Because I'm doing it spontaneously here, and there's a good list of questions.
the thing to do first, in my direction to you guys, is it could be the three of you, it could be the two of you. Find out who you want to work with, who's got the right skills, got the right temperament, interest, all those things, and let's talk about it next month.
And this isn't forming the committee. This is just a precursor to forming the committee
Yeah,
to see if there's
presumably.
even enough to get.
At next month's meeting, we'll look at the people, and hopefully we'll have enough.
And then
form
adopt
the
the resolution. The resolution.
The committee exists, it's just that everybody on
Spend
it.
a month and ask everybody and nobody wants to do it. And then you just go back and you're like, you said there's 75% of the people said there's interest, nobody wants to be a part of this.
Nobody wants to step
Well,
up.
that's exactly,
Right, yeah.
so that's exactly right. You're on the numbers again. So when was it, 2000, it was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I think, or was it 2022? I don't know.
It
Whenever
has
the
to be
Belmont plan was
Yeah.
finished, we did the survey. I did the survey. And basically 75% of the people said,
75% of the people
I would
who
love it
did the survey,
if you went and did it. And I was like,
right?
Yeah, I'm not.
75% of the people who completed the survey,
of people that were given the survey.
no,
many
they completed,
completed?
not given.
No, I think it was of the people that, I think almost everybody that was.
It was quite a high response rate.
Response number?
Yeah, it was just people right inside the designation.
yeah, but I still remember at the time, a number of them, because they were going to do assisted living on the Valalic land, were interested in downsizing because of their age. And that was part of the incentive for them to have that system, because I think as part of the original plan, there were a number, I'm going to call them, garden apartments, for lack of a better word, a series of them with, we're talking, I'm going to guess at like 10 garden type apartments. And there was a lot of interest because of that. But one of the issues I thought at the time was that they were going to go into a downsized thing while selling their houses for, good money. And then if they had been cornered into saying, well, if you get the house here cheaper, you got to give up something when you sell your house. And I'm not sure how well that would have flown. I'm not saying that was in the survey.
Yeah.
I'm saying that was my thought at the time, listening to the people at the time.
You have a copy of the survey, of course, somewhere.
Somewhere.
Are names associated with these 75% people? Or, can we call them directly, or they tended not to sign the forms?
I can't remember.
I think
No,
somewhere.
It was a list of people.
Yeah, somewhere we have a list of all the people
Okay, that'd be a good starting point.
I don't know if we
But I
can-
think that list did not include what you were saying. Now, they were looking within the village actual current day borders.
Yes.
And not necessarily the extra,
They being-
except unless somebody stood up and said, like Phil Bliscoe, I want in.
Yeah, so there's potentially
So
even more
there's still
outside.
potential, which can make a difference, because I don't know how large a space you could acquire. You know, a distance.
We're going into the.
I know, we're
Yeah.
getting nitty-gritty.
That's one. I heard a year or two ago that a geological, in quotes, study had been done and shown that down gradient from the village, there wasn't much appropriate.
Just I think it was more just looking at publicly available maps of soil types.
Okay, and that showed it was questionable looking down gradient.
No.
That's not the result. Okay.
The primary one was near her property, in that vicinity. I don't remember exactly where.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that
I don't know if
that
if
was the
you
best
know this
one based on the
particular
maps
study.
at the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, okay.
No, I just remember hearing somewhere, because I thought it was an interesting idea to do it, and someone threw cold water at me and said, Ron, they already looked at the geology's no good, or something like that.
I
Okay.
think that you got the wrong. Yeah.
Okay,
Somebody.
bad information like
Yeah.
that.
Probably got it from Facebook.
Do you guys, how do you want to do your approaches? Do you want to just talk to people you know, put out a call? I mean, what do you guys think? Or you want to think about it and figure it out?
I would like to just, I need to step back a section to just to understand what the questions are even. Like you say, there's lots of open land, right? You look at an aerial, I don't see it. I have an aerial view of that area. I don't even see that. So I want to understand better what the possibilities are before investing time on a study.
Well, not necessarily a study. I don't know what a study means. So there is a committee. We need to put people on it. Next month, we're going to decide who goes on it. We need to get candidates. Well, the question is, how do we want to get them? And do you guys want to? I mean, if you don't want to do it, then it's going to be more on faith. That's unfortunate.
I won't do that to faith.
No.
Jeff.
Well, also, Jeff has said he'd be on it.
How do you get? I'm asking.
I don't know
I'm
how
just
much time
curious
he's got.
How you want to find people? Are there people that you want to target that you know that they're capable, or do you want to put out a call for people that you may not even know about?
I'd answer that by saying I'd like to see those 75% people and call
Yeah,
them.
because they really need to be.
Yeah.
That would be mine.
Yeah, call them and see if they. First of all, it'll also give us a preliminary view. If they say, "Oh, Ron, I heard we're going to have to pay for it," or whatever, that's the place to stick on this.
I'm good for now. I just replaced my septic, which could be the common theme for anybody that's
Exactly right.
So in the
That's what's
thing
happened.
it was, as Stephen said, it was very intentionally highly limited and focused to the inside the current village designation. But I don't think that's necessarily the limit that the committee should place on the task. Like you were saying, Phil was interested. And I think he came to us and was like, "Don't leave me out just because I'm like one door outside the."
Right.
There are people that, I would say, just throwing out there, Donna's property is partially outside the village designation, and it's flat and open. So, there's lots of land around. Some of it is, occupied, some of it's not. There's land up Belmont Road. It's probably underutilized by most people's estimation. I wouldn't necessarily limit it to the people that were contacted in the survey. That was expressly limited because of my time, mostly. So. All right. Well, anybody else want to say? Jeff, you want to say anything else on that? Okay. Does it make sense for next month to decide who's on it?
So they can find interest.
If there's sufficient interest?
Yes.
I'll look out that
Yeah,
list.
let's start with that list and we'll be in touch with each other, the three of
All
us.
right, good.
A question?
Yeah, sure, Andy.
First of all, is how's this sort of public document at this point? Can it be shared with people?
It's been on the, it's on the town's website, or a link to it's on the town's website.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But we'll make sure
Well, the
that
new final version.
we'll
Cover up.
change the naming on the file and put the word final on there and make sure we run it by the consultant one last time. I think I'll do that as soon as I get home if you want, Jeff. You want me to send her a message tonight?
Oh, that's it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was hoping.
I guess another question is, I know someone who used to rehab housing before he moved up here, retire, but he's interested in perhaps doing something around housing in the community. As it happens, he was just on the other side of the Mount Holly line, Plymouth, oriented towards Mount Holly. Would it be inappropriate to see if he might be interested in working on this? Just because he brings the experience of housing development and rehabilitation.
I would suggest the committee talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to reach out to him and find out if he's interested. And if he's interested, then, yeah, if he's not interested,
Yeah, it doesn't seem any harm in that to me.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. I might suggest somebody with some, I don't know if Kevin is available, but somebody with some septic, engineering knowledge may be worthwhile too. Okay, great. Moving on. I think in light of the hour, I think we can skip the rest of the scheduled business. Read over Cavendish's regulations. I would suggest also looking at, I can also send around some examples from other towns. I think there are some more illustrative than others. There are very few that don't somehow either aren't, included in their zoning or adjacent to it. But even the ones that have the subdivision as part of zoning, it's usually pretty standalone within the unified bylaw. So it's worth looking at some of those too. Towns that are also adjacent to ski areas, I think, are worth looking at. I don't know, who would you suggest is the most Mount Holly-like down, by Dover area? There's not exact equivalents, but
Jamaica, I think they're pretty light zoning. Townsend, I don't think has zoning.
But I mean, it has some similar characteristics like pressure from ski, but also like rising property values, under.
Yeah, Dover's a little bit farther south than I usually go, but I think Jamaica.
That's more like snow, and then so the stuff around Jamaica, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Is that Cavendish on, you said a big package of stuff. There was a link to documents. Is it in there, the Cavendish? Where would I find it? You sent.
I don't. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was sent before you. I'll send it to you.
You sent it to me.
Yeah. Oh. So I guess the big news that I didn't mention, it should have been in my report, is Cavendish passed it. So they now have subdivision regulations, like everywhere else. It's kind of amazing and surprising they never did. But especially considering like all the stuff that went on there, like the snowstone stuff, like it went up to the Supreme Court for anyway, the Act 250 stuff, but they never had this. So they do.
Bridgewater might be one. They're kind of adjacent to Woodstock.
Yep.
I think they're similar. They have like a small downtown, a couple of businesses, but a big surrounding that's rural.
Yep. All right, great. Are we actually going to go a month without a hearing? I don't think we have anything on the docket, right? So we're waiting to hear back from whether, et cetera.
Yeah, that's still gonna happen
at all.
soon.
Okay, so we're looking at next meeting.
Is there a meeting tomorrow? I thought it was in the chit chat also.
It is.
It is in the chit chat?
Yep.
What?
Planning Commission meeting tomorrow.
7 o'clock.
Is that,
You didn't know that? Been there
That's on the
two,
front
3
page.
months?
Yeah, where it says all the dates and stuff,
I asked Diana to change that.
The 18th.
right?
Yep.
I was like,
Whoops.
I don't know about
I
it.
was debating about, but I came tonight, but I was like, oh, I guess I could come tomorrow too. And I thought it was weird there'd be back-to-back meetings.
Oh, yeah.
It was a different time too.
7 o'clock.
That was supposed to be changed. a year
Okay,
ago.
well, we'll ask
It was a
her
bit like the link to the thing.
When is our next meeting now?
It will be April
21st?
the 21st.
21st,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Next meeting, April 21, but no
It's the
hearings.
third Tuesday. Okay. Yeah. Make sure my calendars are well marked.
Yeah, the only thing I want
Hearing
to,
in for the
yeah,
report.
the only thing I
Any
want
public
to,
comments before we conclude?
No, good night.
Good night.
I mean, the only thing I want to add, not that we have to do anything, but on what you were talking about on the housing, you're talking about a Mount Holly community and the commercial town community for housing. That was in the housing plan that they were talking about. And I'm a little unclear which is which.
I didn't understand the word you said. Can you say?
All right, in your housing plan,
Yeah.
where you're looking for your action plan,
The action plan
In the
part of the
action
housing study.
yes, they're talking about a Mount Holly community. They're talking about the town community. And somewhere in there, they threw in the Healdville community in the discussion points. That's in your action plan.
These are
described.
Hamlet centers or.
They're all
Yeah,
described.
yeah, then I'm not sure how that fits into everything. I don't think we need to have time to talk about that this evening.
They're on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are
What?
3 villages and
They-
4 hamlets, I think, on the map.
So they did among other things, they
That
did
lines up to the act, the new Act 180. that
No,
thing,
no. So they did a number of things, and one of the approaches is a constraints analysis. So they approached one of the things they were tasked with was help us identify areas that are available for building new housing units, or that do not have other constraints that would be either preclude or make it undesirable to build there, right? So one way is that you look for what's suitable, and the other angle is you look at where it's not suitable, right? So they used all of that information. They had a number, I can't remember how many different characteristics they were looking at, and they identified, like you said, 3 or so different areas that they would recommend in their objective, their opinion, as being the most prime for development. And those were Belmont Village, this general area,
Municipality.
municipal center.
Municipal
We
center.
called it in our town plan municipal center. And they also called something Healdville.
Well, they also said Mount Holly.
Oh, I think they also did a Healdville.
But there were 4 hamlets
There
and
were
3 villages anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
They mentioned
they mostly did that through a map analysis, and then they took that and then
Population.
talked about it in text. So I think those terms of art or terms they've coined are referencing the mapping primarily. So-
Because reading the action plan got very confusing.
Okay.
I tried to read it.
Well, if you have questions about it, maybe I can answer, or at least I can forward on.
It's getting a little late.
Not this moment.
Yes, not this moment.
I don't want to have another hour-long discussion about it tonight, but if you have questions, I think it would be fine to send them either to me or I
yes.
can try to find the answers wherever they may be. So. Anything else?
Nope.
All right.
All in favor of adjourning?
We're adjourned. Thanks a lot, Jeff.